Alright. Hey guys, I don't know if this is the same video or not, but this is Tracilyn. You are watching the VCat vlog. If you logged on to YouTube, and it's where the root of this video has been released anyway. I've been going through my notes. Mainly for therapeutical reasons, to heal myself. So I'm trying to figure things out. I'm going to try to buzz through the rest of this because it's pretty much the same. I was discussing about how I was bombarded by at least one group, and actually at some point it felt like it was two groups of people, three groups. And they all had their different goals and ambitions, I guess, to kind of guide me into their ideas of the way I should be living my life. When we all have the built-in instinct to figure that out kind of ourselves. At birth, pretty much. When I was staying here in Ohio in the home, I never understood why certain needs were met. And when it comes down to it, the needs for me to be independent were never met. It was a battle for me to do that. I had a roof over my head, and if I needed it, food was there, and if I had to go to a doctor, it was taken care of. The dentist, everybody that knows me knows I try very hard to take care of myself. It's hard when you get to the point that you can't take care of yourself, and you can't do things like go to the dentist or go to a doctor. For me, I'm a transsexual. I should have blood work done and all kinds of things. It's definitely not a cheap process. There are needs that need to be met. And can I say, for the most part, a majority of my needs were met. And I was a fool for believing that somehow, some way, my life was going to continue to progress and get better. Even down to where I would be able to get my SRS surgery, surgical reassignment surgery, you know? And so I can at least enjoy some of the basics in life of being me, being a girl. Whenever I would attempt to start to become independent by creating a job and raising money the way that I need to in the long term, the same person who was telling me you gotta have long-term thinking is the same person that kind of invites people in and boom, kicking them out right away. And I was a fortunate one because I know he loves me and I love him very much, and it's just a whole lot of, everybody has a different idea of life. I have to live a life that's right for Tracilyn. And it's very unfortunate because it's really not, it seems like it's more of a chore to other people than not, because it's not a healthy match. I'm a musician. If I'm going, looking at my own history, the only time I've ever really been able to take care of myself is through entertainment. And unfortunately for me, I got involved in Christianity, and that messed up my head because now I wanted to use my gifts and my talents, as they put it, in other ways, as a ministry rather than as a job occupation. Big mistake, and I'm going to keep saying it. That was a big mistake. But after you get sucked into it, and I know some of you know and experienced it, and other of you haven't, but once you get sucked into it, the illusion of it all, when you're searching as much as I was, you just do not know until you start applying everything in your life and how easily it gets really messed up. And it goes unnoticed for a long time, until something like in the situation where I went out to Las Vegas and all this came down. So, at some point, I'm going to say this because I don't know why I have it down on this side of the paper, but at some point during my travels, I've also noticed that there was still an overflow, I'll call it, of people that were crossing paths with me at different places. Understand, people in power, they have friends and connections with people all over the place. And if they're monitoring you, they know where you are 24 hours, 7 days a week. They know what you're saying. They know if you're breathing. They probably know your heartbeat and everything else. And the bottom line is, if they want to send somebody to get a message to you, they will. And they have fun with it. It's fun. And it's not just me they do this to. They do it to a lot of people, I'm sure. And they get their kicks out of it. And there was a time when I was down in, it's either North or South Carolina, in Asheville, I think it was. I was playing on the street. And this guy who dressed to be kind of like a homeless or a street person who was traveling, to me it was a costume. And some of the conversation that we got into, it was just like, it was obvious he was trying to make his way into my life to get to talk to me. And he kind of made jokes about, that I ought to maybe consider I'm never going to make out too good there, that I ought to consider going other places. And he made that suggestion, and he would come back, he'd leave for a while, and then he came back, he had a guitar. I don't even know if he could play the thing. I was going to ask him, I think I did ask him if he wanted to play me a song or something, but basically he left it known very clearly that he used to be a news reporter and a songwriter. And a lot of people who know me kind of view me as that. Because instead of having the opportunity to put my energy into my art and do the things that I love and stay committed to that, I was pretty much strapped down into my bedroom. And because I'm on the computer, I don't really like it. I gotta be honest, I don't like being on the computer. I'd rather be doing live, real things, real life things. I left my life situation get the hold of me, and then I started basically reporting everything that's going on about, in the perspective of everything that's happening within the household or in my life. And that's all I had to do. I couldn't do a lot of the things that I wanted to do there, and being strapped down, you just, financially you can't do much of anything. You're stuck in the house, and you start doing a whole lot of things that you wouldn't normally do if your situation was at least a little bit different. So I met him, and I kind of chuckled because I knew I was getting the point. And then he mentioned about going to a place, and he said, you might do better off if you get a dog, And anybody who knows me at that time, I was talking a lot about, the dog that I used to have in a relationship for like 10 years taught me a lot, and he was like my best friend. And I didn't really talk about this stuff too much to other people outside, except for once in a while in conversation, but it was said a lot to myself privately, that things about having a dog, I'd rather have a relationship with a dog kind of thing, than, most people, I guess, for whatever reason, they get along a little bit better with a dog. They love you unconditionally, most of them, not all of them, when they're treated right. So, and when I left Ohio, my intention was, obviously, I have very little money. I'm living now on a credit card because I'm not going to live in my car. I'm not going to live on the street. I can only expect that the worst of things would happen to me in those situations. And I'm so tired of being bullied around, whether it's through law enforcement or if it's through, other people or what have you, people I live with. It's like I lost my life. I really did lose my life, and I didn't just become a slave like everybody else is kind of a slave to the system and corporations and stuff. It's now people are using the opportunity, instead of opening up and loving someone and working things out in an intelligent manner, they're using that opportunity to kind of make a prisoner or a slave in a lot of situations. It's not just with me, it's with a lot of people who are dependent go through that. So you've just become treated like dirt by everyone around you. So when I left, I decided, I always wanted to write a book. I wanted to take my time, write notes, go over it, maybe even have people proofread it. I was very serious about doing that. because in my making of songs and creating a music CD or something, I wanted to have that as an option as well. I'm glad in the end that I did it this way, and I gotta say I'm really sorry that I even thought of ever doing a book, just because I realized in the end that this here is probably more therapeutic, and in the end I probably would have never done anything with the book anyway, because the same things that I face in the music industry and stuff probably would have been faced. In fact, I know 100% it would have been faced this way as well. So I did it this way, and I got it all out of my heart. And that was my whole thing, you know, before anything serious happens to me, I need to do this. I need to go back. I always wanted to go back in time and redo the history of my life so that I could share it with other people. My hope was to actually make a movie somehow, some way. And this is as best as guess, because when this is done, it's done. I have no more desires to do anything that I used to do when I was under the trance of the foolishness of a god and stuff like that. So, before I left Ohio, there were signs, and I'm going to tell you that whether this was in my imagination as far as to now, because of everything I'm going through, am I taking these signs as being a part of this group, or in a sense, am I just now starting to create things in my own manner? I mean, I believe there's a mix of it. I believe there's a mix of having the groups of people talking to me while also... And I believe that this group of people was being sent down by one person, the one person who was sending them to send me a message. And a lot of people were listening to me and stuff. But when I started getting ready to leave Ohio, I started seeing a lot of plates from Florida, mysteriously, usually parked by my car. And I don't want to get too heavy about that, but that's what was going on. So I felt like there was like some kind of leadership that's kind of an area I should go, or whatever. In a spiritual sense, in a foolish sense, whatever. No matter what, however you look at it, I felt like I was getting signs somehow, some way at that point through the universe that I should go down to Florida. So I did. Obviously I wrote the song, Welcome to Miami, while I was down there. And I needed to get to where it was hot out, and I love the beaches very much. So I'm very grateful that I ended up going down there. But I decided to go down there for a while. I went to a few different places in Florida, and when I was down there, I went to a certain location that once was mentioned to me while I was on the streets. And I went to this venue that they had told me about, and when I got there, you know, eventually I ended up meeting people from Ohio, from Columbus, Ohio, a couple. Very friendly. You know, it was just a coincidence that I'm down here and, you know, they're from there, and we ended up talking a little bit. And at some point I ended up talking the next time, because I went there every day, just regularly, just looking to hang out or to meet whoever. And I got the opportunity to play a few times on a stage that's down there. But I got to meet this guy who called himself the mayor. He was joking around with me about stuff, but he ended up having a talk with me, a very personal talk. He started asking me questions like, who told you to come down here? You know, I guess he wanted to feel me out and see what I would say. And I can't remember how I responded. I might have said, God told me, you know, or whatever. But I said something to him. And then at some point he mentioned to me that, you know, that he had met a lot of his friends that are songwriters, entertainers, etc., that if they don't get the help they need, they usually commit suicide. Was a very clear statement to me. And he said that he remembers hearing that one time he met this guy that was playing on the streets, and he had these gloves on with the fingers cut off, And he actually showed the fingers, and they, were all chewed up from playing the guitar. And he said, this guy told me, he said, when he sang, the singer sang, that it was the prettiest voice that he has ever heard. And it was the way he said it. And I believed very strongly that he was sending a signal out to me, like, in a sense, insulting me, and in a sense, letting me know that there was an encounter there. So, reflecting back, did I ever see him before in Ohio? I can't say I did or I didn't, but I do remember a couple situations like that. Because I would be known to stand out, despite the fact that I don't like the cold. I'd be in the cold when I figured I could tolerate it, and there were times that my fingers were feeling like they're getting close to frostbite, and I sang for a couple people. So what I'm getting at is, it seems like even when I was down in Florida, or wherever I was, that there would be little signs of things. So much that even when I was in Jonestown, I had someone mention to me about, the fact of having 2 babies, meaning being a model and music, and the possibilities of another one coming along, which is sharing my life story, that it could really mess things up for me. I took that as a threat that I'd better shut my mouth. And, I've weighed this back and forth, and I'm continuing on with this project because I'm doing it for myself. And there is nobody who's going to shut my mouth. I'm doing the very best I can not to mention any names. I'm just explaining about what I went through. And, I don't want to be a part of something so foolish that I can't share my life story respectfully, in respect with other people, and have to have any kind of threat put over me. It's going to happen no matter what, no matter who we are, but, obviously it didn't stop me from doing what I knew I had to do in my heart. So that situation actually deterred me, and it brought me to the point that I'm going to leave. Because evidently there's people playing head games with me down here, and I'm not really into that. I'm pretty much tired of the foolishness. So, it wasn't long after I was gone. Understand this, because I have to move, I don't have a home to go to. No, nothing's direct. There is no friends or anybody I can call and say, can I come stay with you? I'm pretty much tired of asking anyway. I get it. No matter where I stay, it's only going to be temporary. Well, it wasn't long after I left, I was blown away, because I had an address here in Ohio for a lot of different reasons, and then I had an address in Pennsylvania. And in Pennsylvania I had no problems, because it was somebody that I knew that I could trust. I really felt strongly that I could, But there's a lot of risk in that when you're having your mail sent to other people's homes. You don't know, there's other people that live there, there's neighbors, there's other things that happen. You're taking a big chance when doing that. It's a hard place to be in life. Some people say, why didn't you get a mailbox? I can't afford it. I can't even afford to eat. I can't afford anything. Well, how are you making it? Credit card. And if I would have listened to Joyce Myers flapping her lips, I would have cut up my credit card, and then I would have been on the street instantly when I was asked to leave. So I'm so grateful that I had a backup plan, at least, so I could finish this project before I decide what I'm going to do with myself. What can I tell you? There was a time on my journey that I actually called the place in Ohio, and I had asked them, is there any way whatsoever? They knew my situation. They knew that I was asked to leave. All I wanted was an address for them, and I asked them if they could collect it for me in like a yellow envelope or something, and eventually, forward it to me, or I'll come by and pick it up. And can I tell you that when I made the phone call and I asked them about it, they instantly got really mean about it, basically telling me they do not have the time to do to do things like that, and I don't want to write too much about it because I really care about the gentleman, and I just really didn't understand. When I came back here in Ohio to pick up my mail, believe it or not, so I'm driving across America to pick up my mail after 3 or 4 months, he was really nice to me. So I didn't understand why when I was asking, to me, if I was doing that, if I did that for you, if I'm holding your mail, and you say, I can't do it every day, obviously, but if you were to ask me, can you send it to me at the end of the month, I would do it. Why not? If I'm going to help you, I'm going to help you. Well, I've learned that even when people say that they're going to do things to help you, that in most situations they don't want to be bothered. They have their own life to do. Okay, but me, I'm trying to get my life straightened out and do everything that I can as I'm figuring things out for myself, because I don't want to keep making the same ridiculous mistakes. All of it takes time, and what I've learned is the person you can count on the most is going to be yourself. Outside of that, you might as well forget it. So I've realized the same people that were offering to help or whatever ended up treating me like poop. While you're once you fall on the bottom, however you fall, people will blame it on your choices, but don't forget, these choices are made from an illusion of BS. Okay? It's different if you have true facts in front of you and you're making your choices. I made my choice in the moment when they said I could use their address, and that they understood that I was homeless and that I would be calling at some point to see about getting it forwarded. Now, if moments move on and all of a sudden they change their mind, I can't help that. They can say, well, you made the choice. Well, I made the choice because I was told that it was not going to be bothersome to hold my mail and forward it to me. So how could I make a bad choice? I didn't make the bad choice. Other people have decided to mistreat me. And that's just the way it is. Yes, I'm the victim again. How do I not be the victim? That's the first thing that went through my mind. I don't want to always come across as being the victim, but how do you rise above that? When everybody is taking the advantage of your situation, and I would never even think twice of doing something like that to somebody, even as something that simple. If I'm going to invite somebody into the home, they're going to definitely have expectations, and I'm going to find out what their needs are, and I'm going to assist them in it, or I'm not going to open up my door and help them. Then they're on their own. There ain't no sense of bringing somebody in and kicking them out 2 days later. And you find out that I got, for the first time in my life, I got invited into a home and kicked out within 6 or 7 hours. It's absolutely crazy. So now I find myself at the bottom of the barrel, constantly trying to find creative ways. Where am I going to live? How am I going to eat? All these things that are necessary, but until a person has a foundation where they can actually breathe and live, get their life together, it's going to take years. I would never invite somebody into my home who's fallen on the streets and think that they're going to get their life together in 2 weeks or 2 months, or even it might take them 2 to 5 years. Who knows? We'll work it out as time goes on, but geez, in most situations, I'm being asked to leave within weeks, within months. And in all honesty, it's not a whole lot of what I'm doing, because it was already known up front that I'm a musician. And you got to let people be themselves. If you're going to bring people in and expect them to be something else, don't even open up your door. Don't even open up your door. Let it go. Okay. When I was out, I ended up, because I was down in Florida, I actually went up to Pennsylvania and I was thinking about things, started hitting some open mic nights. I met a guy at the open mic night. It seemed like they were trying to be a little more casual not to be so noticeable like it was when it was in Ohio. It was so obvious that it was a group of people that were talking to me. So whether or not these people were, I do believe the guy down in Florida was. After that experience, I went back to Pennsylvania, and then I started thinking, whatever is the end result, this is not the place I want to end up. I don't want to end up being stuck in Pennsylvania on the streets, especially it's cold. I grew up there. There's a lot of, from doing this video project, I realized being around that all the time is not good for me mentally. Or anyone. It's time to move on to new things. If I'm going to live, I need to live and move on. So I ended up going down south. I ended up going to New Orleans eventually. And because the weather was very bad there, it seems that basically what I ended up trying to do is chase after the sun and get where it's hotter out. And a lot of places I was going was cold or rainy or something. And if I'm going to be there, I didn't want to be in a hotel. I wanted to be out mingling with people to see what the opportunities were. I long gone gave up on the internet because it seems to me more so than not, in my experiences, that I meet people that are not real at all. And I just get tired of playing all those games. I want to go meet the image of whatever somebody's presenting out in the real world and then get the opportunity to feel them out, kind of thing. So that's what I started doing. Then I made my way over to Texas. And for whatever reason, I didn't really care for that too much. It was cold there as well. People very friendly in Austin, but it just wasn't for me, and it was cold and stuff. So I continued on. I thought, oh my goodness, I'm going all the way over here to California. And I did. And can I tell you, there's an area over there by the beach that I loved a lot. But it opened up my eyes to a whole lot of things too while I was there. And I had the opportunity to meet different people, really friendly people. And, it seemed like the guys that I was meeting, it was the same situation that I meet at wherever I am. It's just, it is the sex. And I obviously right now, because I'm homeless and stuff, I got more things going on than caring about whether or not who I'm going to have sex with. I'm not worried about that. I'd really like to get my life straightened out before I even worry about it. That just adds into possibilities of a whole lot more issues than I could ever imagine handling. Especially like in this situation where a guy was kind of deterred because I insist I will use protection all the time. Always use protection, I'm telling you. And if a guy pressures you in that, then he's doing it to other people, and there's a very high chance that he has something that he wants to infect you with. And that's true human nature, unfortunately. So always be leery of guys like that, or people in general like that. I didn't feel that there was any really healthy matches. One of the situations that happened to me that I discussed with a gentleman that was there is, here's another thing. To give you a good example of an illusion of making a choice. When I'm playing on the boardwalk or playing on the beach or wherever I'm playing at, I'm there for a reason. Yes, I want to network. I want to meet people. Real people. Okay? As real as one could present themselves anyway. And can I tell you that in this situation, a gentleman came up to me and he asked me, he was listening to me for a while, and he asked me, he said, would you like to go for coffee? And I said, no, not now, and it's in the afternoon. I usually have coffee in the morning. Maybe later, maybe later we can go for another drink, like I'll get a soda. I told him I don't drink alcohol. I try to stay away from it. I do once in a while, but I try to stay away from it. I said, why don't you come back a little bit later? So he came back and he reminded me, and I said, yeah, how about it? I think it was 3:30, to be honest with you. Come back about 3:30. But I usually would stay there until it got dark out, which now, because of the time of year, it'd probably be around 5 o'clock or so. So he ended up coming back again. And I figured, now I know he's serious, right? Feeling him out. He showed up. Evidently, he wants to take me out for a drink, get to know me. And probably, sex or whatever. But he was handsome, and I thought, you know what? I'm not doing so hot out here anyway. I need a change. So, no sooner did I go through packing all my stuff up, I ended up taking it right to his place. And we walked down to get my car. He wanted me to go right back to his place. He just wanted to get laid. You want to talk about being disappointed? And I told him straight up. That's a fine example. If he would have told me, would you like to come back to my place and screw? I would have said no. I don't even know who you are. You know? Why would I? Sometimes you feel that way and sometimes you don't. And this time in my life, I'm not feeling that way. But he didn't. He lied to me. He said, can I take you out for a drink or a bite to eat and we will go back to my place? He didn't say that. He said, would you like to go for a cup of coffee? It's a big difference. Instead of telling me exactly what he wanted to do, he made up an illusion. If I'm making my choice off the illusion, I can't help that. I'm really sorry that for myself that I end up meeting more people like that than not. But I don't go around lying to people. Not on purpose for any reason. I try to be as honest as I can. If I ask you if you'd like to go get a cup of coffee, I'm not trying to trick you into something. I'm taking you for a cup of coffee. So of course he totally lost my respect. And, I left him know a little bit, but I wasn't too open about it. Until later on we had a few conversations. I just realized all he was about is sex. That's it. Everything that came out. It was another one of those fetish things. I don't like being a part of somebody's sick fetish. They have issues that they're struggling with and they need to work on them themselves. I don't want to be a part of that. So, anyway, he was one of the nicest guys. He was nice. That's all he wanted from me, and that's just not me. Even to the point that he was trying to get me to stay there, to stay for a while. But he never said, and I already told him I don't want to live with some guy in a very small apartment being their sex dow. I don't want to be that. That's not what... I'm so past all of that ridiculous stuff, it's unreal, I want to be around a real gentleman and have something in common and be able to laugh together and stuff. I don't want to just be there to be somebody's hump toy, like a dog's little stuffed animal or something. It's just not for me. That's all. If you're there in your life and you enjoy it, then you enjoy it. And I don't judge that. That's great. Maybe you want to give him a call. You might enjoy yourself. That's not for me. I cannot be with people if the only thing that they want from me is sex. That's such a turn off to me. Because, just like any other girl, a pretty girl especially, whatever, everybody has their own idea of what pretty is, but, I'm not, if I were to be a genetic girl, as I am, and meaning I had my SRS done, I wouldn't have any problems going out and having a whole bunch of guys wanting to hump me all the time, because I wouldn't have to tell them that, oh, by the way, if you're not careful, you might get smacked in the forehead. The bottom line is, I have my own struggles with being a transsexual lady that really stink, because I'm the kind of person I really want to just settle down with somebody. We have an open relationship, but I'd rather settle down with somebody. I don't like this games of playing around with other people like I have been. So it's very unfortunate for me that it continues on. Hopefully I can work that out. I'm getting really tired. It's after midnight. Happy New Year, by the way. You were watching this from New Year's Eve on to New Year's Day in 2014. I don't celebrate holidays anymore for a lot of different reasons, but I know a lot of other people do. So, Happy New Year. I was talking about that gentleman, and we continued to talk. In the end, it ended up being that, basically he was trying to get me to stay there long enough to where I could be his little sex toy or slave or whatever for a duration of like a week or two, and then I'd be on my merry way. And I guess for some reason in his sick mind, he thought that I think that would be a wonderful opportunity. And to some people out there, they might say, well, that would be great. Well, not for me. No, not for me. I have a much healthier standard for myself and higher expectations than that. So it's just not for me, that's all. So I just learned to get along. His whole idea of thinking about life and everything is much different than mine. No big deal. He accepted me as a lady, as a transsexual lady, and stuff. But it was just that it was more of a fetish thing, you know. So eventually, I ended up making my way. I had placed ads online, and a transsexual from old Hollywood had invited me to stay over at her place. And you know, I gotta say that this was the weirdest situation I've ever been in, and I don't want to ride it too much because I am getting tired. But can I tell you that I was kind of excited, though I know my history of everything that I've been through, and usually things don't seem to work out very well at all. It's a very unhealthy match. It's more because I'm needy. I need a place to stay. And it ends up that it seems to me that a lot of times when homes open up, you're either going to be somebody's sex toy and slave for the most part, or you're going to be somebody else's slave, and they have an idea of how you should live. If you don't fit that idea, you're out on the streets. Well, I might as well just stay out on the street. If I can't be Tracilyn, you know, it seems to me like, you know, if I were to be in the shoes of everybody else, I must think that I'm the worst person on the face of the earth. I can't believe that me, out of a lot of people, that's one of those things. Is it a pride thing? I don't know. But I'm really shocked that I'm still struggling around after all that I've been through. There's no reason why. I agree. There's no reason why. If I would have known, number one, that there is no God outside myself, and I wouldn't be under this trance and this illusion that, oh, Jesus Christ, that's all I need. And what I really needed was to line my mind with my heart and live my life and forget everybody else. I didn't know human nature either. Human nature is ugly. And by choice, more so than not, it's being in the forefront of people's lives. And it makes it very horrible for people that really are a sensitive spirit, and they're trying to get back on their feet again because they freaking just had the rug pulled right out from under them. You know, it's just nothing. It's pointless. It's really pointless for me to try anything unless I'm going to have some kind of foundation to start on. You know, you might hear some stories where I started out of my car, and well, I'm not like that. You know what? I still say that I feel very much so like I've been played a very dirty joke on, and I got to look at the long term. Is that what I really want to do? Do I want to be spending the rest of my life and trapped into what I was doing for 7.5 years by myself for myself? It's a ridiculous way to live. You know, there's a lot of other things in my life, of course, like many people, that I desired, and to be trapped in that route too. I did it already. I know exactly what to expect. And that's one of the few things I will ever agree with Joyce Myers in, is that repeating the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result is the definition of insanity. I already was a part of the music business as a solo acoustic entertainer. I already know you got to change everything about yourself and do a bootload of cover songs, and you got to go around proving yourself over and over every day and calling people and begging to play in their... I don't want to go down that road again. That was a horrible way for me to... It was good for a season. I don't see myself living like that. You know, no. There's something to be said about having a job. You know, if you show up, you got a job. If you don't, you're fired. I don't have no problem with that. Problem of going around and trying, like I said, changing everything about yourself and all this. It's just, I have songs and I'm Tracilyn, and it is what it is. So I ended up on the streets. So anyway, she invites me in. And it's pretty amazing because where she's located is at like one of the most popular recording studios. I don't know if it's necessarily in the country, but at least in Hollywood, or old Hollywood anyway. And I mean, basically that's her landlord, and her next door neighbor is, you know, owner of a record company, or he has some kind of record company, or part of it. He's a CEO or president or something. He's involved heavily in a record company that's out there, and, you know, really nice guy. Really nice guy I met. He's very stressed out, obviously. He got a lot of things going on. But here's the thing about that. I'm a very social person. I talk to my neighbors. Hi, how are you doing? Especially if I know that they do have similar passions. It doesn't matter if it's a child and they just started playing guitar or drums or something. I'm going to, especially because I know there's music is I'm going to talk to them. Okay, it's just my natural instinct. I did the same thing when I meet people, if I'm at a club or something, and I find out, oh, so-and-so is a singer. Well, I'll go over and talk to them and see what they're all about. That's what I do. That's just who I am. It's come from a long life of networking with other people and just feeling other people out. And it'd be nice to actually know people that are into things that I'm into. How's that? You know, I don't know what that's like because I've been so trapped and far away from that for so many years. So anyway, we ended up going for groceries, and because she needed them and I had the car, and that was my thing. You know, I told her we can't abuse this, but because a car is a whole nother expense. And I just simply, if anything happened, I'm done. You know, then the car is done and that's it. And, you know, I know a lot of times when you live with people and you have a car, then all of a sudden now you become a taxi cab. And I made it very clear I couldn't do that. So that's just one obligation. I would do that anywhere. I did it wherever I live. That's just always the way it is because I can't afford a car. I really shouldn't have one by now, obviously, because I can't afford it. So it's barely helping me to get by. And can I tell you that we did that, and she was really nice, and she ended up asking me if different foods and stuff I wanted, and I just told her, you know what, I'd love to have a salad. I really miss eating my salads. And obviously, her eating habits are much different than mine, so now here we go through this whole thing of living with other people and being independent. Though she was flexible and asked me, the bottom line is, the realistic, you got to eat what other people provide for you. And I'm not saying it with her, I'm saying in general. That sucks. Again, I'm going to say, it took me years to educate myself and realize what's healthy, what's not healthy, and because you're navigating, because your parents are teaching you one thing, but it's completely the opposite. They're feeding you slop, you know, and all kinds of junk, and you're living off that, and then as you grow up, you're thinking this is healthy eating out of a can, and it's not. Okay, so we learn as we get older different things. For me, I'm really big into physical fitness and eating healthy living. I really am. It matters to me a lot. And because I can't, there are many times that I now, like I used to when I worked at Walmart, and I used to walk by the ladies section, I turned my head there for the longest time because I also like to wear nice clothing. And Walmart does have a lot of nice clothing, you know, in their stores. That's affordable for me. And can I tell you, when you got to walk by this stuff and always turn your head knowing you can't ever buy yourself anything, and now it's down to the food, it's a horrible place to be. You know, most of the stuff that we're given is, and they expect you to be thankful for it. I feel for a lot of the homeless people that are going to these different ministry outreaches and they're being fed garbage. And then they're being crammed down their throat that they should be thankful for this stuff. Really? Whatever. So, you know, we get back. I started to cry in the kitchen. I'm eating this salad. I'm just like, it's been so long. Just these few months, I've noticed such a huge difference in all my senses. I was explaining it to her and stuff. So we got along pretty good. And then eventually she invited another transsexual friend over. It's a very small apartment, by the way, so there's not really much for me to do. So I'm very friendly. I'm very sociable. I try getting to know her. I find her very interesting. She's younger. She's very attractive. She travels too. She's into modeling. She had been photographed by she's from Florida or whatever, so she met some pretty amazing photographers down in that area. And of course, because similar passions and stuff, you're feeling people out. Because I told her I've been trying for a long time to get photographers to shoot me, and as soon as they find out I'm trans, they don't want nothing to do with me. You know, so here's a beautiful transsexual, and she showed me pictures, I was blown away. So I know it gets done. I know that people develop relationships and do this. For me, it was, I developed relationships until people found out I was transsexual, and out the door I went. That's my story. It's not about the attitude. It's not like I had a bad attitude with these people. It's that they found out I was trans and they just didn't want anything to do with it. So I have bad luck. Is what I'm realizing. I'm just bad luck. And I'm cursed. I'm cursed. Obviously, it doesn't matter what I try or who I connect with. In the end, something is always going to be used against me, and I'm pretty much tired of that. You know, that's why through this project, I just did it myself. I don't need a photographer anymore. I could actually probably do, if I get the other technology, I could probably shoot it, of course, obviously, the way I want to, and probably do a lot nicer work. I'm a heck of an artist. I can do all kinds of things. And, you know, these people that I ended up meeting that have this egotistic attitude of, you're a lower life form because of whatever's between your legs, or because of, the fact that you are considered socially different, which you're not different. People aren't different. They just act like they are. You know, people don't understand and they mistreat you. So I was really excited about this. Got into a lot of conversations. She traveled all over the place, and she's kind of a free spirit. And it was really cool to hear this, because I'm thinking to myself, there's no reason why Tracilyn should be penned up in a small bedroom in Huber Heights with duct tape on her mouth, tied down to a bed, staring at the computer, knowing there's a much better life outside that window, but not knowing how to navigate through it without being at the bottom of the barrel. There has to be a way. Many people are doing it. So of course I'm going to, because I'm bugged by this. How are you going about it? What is it that you do? I'm just curious to know. We had a lot in common. It wasn't like she was being repelled. We had interesting conversation. Obviously that created some kind of jealousy with the one who was hosting the event. I start acting like a little kid. People can't handle it. I like talking. And it's not like I was just talking to her. I was talking to everyone. But I guess she thought, and I'm not attracted to transsexuals. I'm attracted to men. And I don't care. I don't mean to be mean about it or anything. I don't care about being with a cross-dresser or anything either. What I find out is I care more about what's inside than outside. It's just that when it comes to sexual pleasure, I would rather be with a man. But considering that a lot of my situations, it becomes more of a fetish for men, and all they want to do is have sex and nothing else, I gotta say that I lean more towards wanting to be with another transsexual or a lady, but I don't really want to have sex with them. So it's kind of confusing for me, and I just realized that in the end, I gotta kind of get my life together. I'd probably be better off with another woman and being a lesbian. And just dating men on occasions, having an open relationship, having men to use them for when I need to get laid, and then bye, kind of thing. Educational video, So hopefully I'm not saying anything that offends anybody. Since I was talking too much, I figured I'd better just go out for a walk around the neighborhood. So I asked her if she would mind. I'll go away and they can have the place to themselves. And can I tell you, it was the first time I was ever in old Hollywood. And one thing that this transsexual lady had mentioned to me is she said when she goes to big cities, she's not interested in seeing the tourist attraction. She's interested in seeing how the people of the city actually live. And by that time, I've already started figuring out what was going on and what I was doing. This was the first time that I ever traveled through America trying to find what the locals do. People who've been living there for years. What do they enjoy doing? How do they go about their daily life? It's much different in all different places. And it's interesting because you get to see a lot of beautiful things. I got to see a side of Las Vegas like I've never seen before. Just because, somebody had led me out to, whether it was to a restaurant or something, and that led me out on my personal time to going and venturing off as well. And then I got more interested in getting to know the other locals and going to the open mic nights. And I'll tell you what, I had a much more pleasurable time. For me. And I started doing this because it was a natural thing, because I'm seeking, and I'm starting to get away from tourists. But by the time I talked to her in Hollywood, I started realizing that every city has so much more to offer than the tourist attractions. So, and I would say that with Las Vegas, I really like it out there, and the people are outstanding, very friendly. You can see the difference, and when you're just the whole mentality of everything is a lot different. It's great. So anyway, I started walking around Old Hollywood, and of course it was around Christmas time, so the lights are lit and stuff. This was earlier here in December, I guess, maybe at the end of November around Thanksgiving. I'm not sure, but Christmas lights were up. And I'm the kind of person, listen, I don't want to be alone. I want to socialize. I want to mingle. I don't do good with living with people at all. But I am great when it comes to public socializing. I just started saying, hi, how are you? If I seen somebody that I thought might be Spanish, speak Spanish, or I heard them, I'd say hola, and just start talking. And people were really friendly to me. And I'd stop and I'd talk. And, I walked through the neighborhood for a while, and then I started heading back in. Well, the gentleman who lives beside of her, who I guess they have a friendship, and they kind of help each other out in different ways, he had a dog. A little dog. It was really cute. Anybody who knows me knows that I like dogs, puppies, and especially. And I asked him if he minded if I pet him, and I pet him. And that's all. We just talked. I just said that, I'm just staying here for a little while. I've been traveling. So maybe we'll be seeing each other around. And he was really, really nice to me. I really liked it. He was very handsome, very kind. You could tell that he was... dealing with some things or whatever, just like anybody else. But, he had a beautiful dog and things, so... And I talked to the other neighbors. There was children. I love children. So I got down on my knees and I'm talking to the children and stuff. And they were from a different background of some sort that I wasn't aware of. And I just thought that, this is neat. I'm having like an adventure within the neighborhood. But can I tell you, I made a big mistake, because when I went in the house and something was brought up about what I was doing, my first words were, the neighborhood is absolutely beautiful. I was never in Old Hollywood before. And I think it's absolutely outstanding. And I mentioned about the Christmas lights, and then I started mentioning about some of the encounters I had with talking with people. Very brief. It set her on fire. She was really angered. She told me immediately to get out. And I was blown away by it. I'm like, what are you talking about? And all of a sudden she started accusing me of all kinds of things, even to the point that she said, you're probably the same kind of person that will steal from me and all kinds of things. And she just started going off. She started making all these absurd comments about all the possibilities of who I could be and what I could be up to. And I was totally blown away by it. And can I tell you, this is the same person that cares about the LGBT community and people in general. It's her place. She wants me out, I leave. But if your reasoning is simply because I was talking to your neighbors or talking to the people outside, what else am I supposed to do with my life? I mean, see about people's expectations and their idea of living. Wherever I lived, I understand you don't share certain things with other people, but to be friendly to your neighbor all of a sudden is a serious issue? I'm in the wrong world. I was always nice to my neighbors. And there was a lot of times that I had elderly neighbors, and I would go over into their house and sit with them and keep them company. Again, I do much better with relationships outside of my own home than I do in them. And then most of the time, I'm going to be honest, it's because the people I live with have a ridiculous expectations and standards of the way they live their own life. I want to enjoy mine. To the best of my ability. I'm living practically on the streets. If I have the opportunity just to get my mind off things and lift up somebody else's spirits, and while in the process of lifting up mine, why not? So she kicked me out, and I was just like, I gotta admit, I was scared. She was definitely what I would consider to be more butch. She was a bigger girl, and I don't want to end up getting into a physical, because I know there's serious consequences. It's not about who can win or this, that, and the other. It's about the bottom line is there's consequences that I don't want to go through in the end. It has nothing to do with fighting other people. Sometimes that's what I would like to do, is fight people, but the bottom line is I know no matter what there's going to be consequences, and I don't want to be involved in that. I really want to live a peaceful life and go about my life and enjoy, but I'm finding it more and more challenging as time goes on, and I'm telling you, I'm done with it. I can't take it anymore. I really did do the very best I can, whether that best is to everybody else's expectations. I did the best I could, and it's just getting worse and worse and worse. So now, that was the first time I lived somewhere for like 6 hours or 7 hours, and I was asked to leave. That never happened to me before. And the funny thing is it's just because I was being kind to people. That's it. I'm sure she'll tell you a whole nother story. But her reasoning is she doesn't want anybody to know anything about anything to do with her or that home within her neighborhood. And her strongest suggestion is, why didn't you just walk 5 blocks or a half a mile down the road and then talk to people? Why did you have to do it outside your door? And my reasoning was, they were there. I walked down the doorstep. That didn't happen to me in Heber Heights. Rarely did I ever walk out the door and all of a sudden there was somebody there. Occasionally there was people there. But I'm walking out the door and people are smiling and wanting to talk to me. What am I supposed to do? Just put my nose up and keep on walking? That may be her idea of life. That's not mine. And I'm one that people say I have a negative perception of everything. No, I don't. I see for what it is. I used to think negatively because all I thought about is all the horrible things like this that happened to me. But I'm sharing my story, and I'm saying that was absolutely absurd for anyone to expect that you're not going to talk to people. People aren't strangers to me. People are people. And I'm not going to walk by people and put my nose up. I don't know if that's a West Coast thing or what. I'm not trying to be mean, but I'm just saying I don't know, because when I was down at the beach, I was scolded by somebody else who was kind of supervising over me, but he warned me that he's not going to supervise me anymore if he finds me hugging the homeless people. Isn't that weird? And then he tried to cast fear in me by telling me they have lice and all kinds of things. Maybe they do. Or the group of people that were there, not all of them. Not all of them. But he told me the group. And whether or not they did it, you can imagine what that did. I'm looking all around me. Do I have lice now or what? But he basically, and he was a really nice guy, but he just told me, he's like, I really like you, Tracilyn, but he's like, you can't be just going around hugging people. I hug people. I care, believe it or not. As much as people think that I complain about stuff or whatever it is, I don't like human behavior. The human nature, the evil side of it. But I really do care about people. And when I seen all those homeless people spread out all over the beach, and, it's not like I care enough that I end up want to be living there, but I mean, I care enough that I can talk to people, and I can sit with people, and I can hug people. And I'm tired of me being perceived as being such an evil person when I do wonderful things like that. That's just like here in Ohio. Instead of looking at what it is that I'm doing as a great blessing for somebody in the city to be out and about doing, I'll tell you what, I don't want to be mean, but what I was doing when I was in Ohio was more beneficial to the entire than any Christian leader in this state has ever done. And I'll tell you why, because I'm giving myself without any conditions. I'm not inviting them to my table and saying you can have a bite to eat, but you got to listen to my sermon, corrupt your mind for an hour first. Got to praise Jesus. I got to praise God that doesn't even exist anyway. I'm out there being God. I'm loving people, hugging them, giving them opportunities to learn so much about life and so much about diversity, and just being available. So that may come off pretty strongly, but I'll tell you what, I am so tired of people beating me over the head when really, in sense, when you look at it as a whole, in those situations I had more of a heart than most people I've ever met in my life. And I'm doing it without judgment. I'm not there to judge people or whatever. I've learned that people are people no matter where they are. And human nature is the same in everybody, and myself included. And I usually do my very best to try to be my best in every way. That's how I ended up on the street. Because more so than not, the people I've encountered are not trying to be the best that they have the ability to be. And they're being judgmental and everything negative against what you could perceive, and I don't want to get too heavy in that. That just set me off, because somewhere along the way, somewhere should obviously have recognized that Tracilyn is out there making a difference in the community. And, under all of the circumstances, period, if there's somebody, I'm not holding a sign saying, give me, will you give me a dime, will you give me $1? I'm saying I'm here to give my entire self to you guys. I'm here to love you. I'm here to sing to you. I'm here to be your friend. I'm here for whatever. And instead, all I have is people lining up, opening up their butt cheeks and taking a big dump on me and treating me like garbage and saying that all I care about is myself. Okay. Makes sense to me, right? It's logical. All I care about is myself. That's why I'm getting scolded when I'm out on the beach in California for hugging people and Cass is saying they probably have lice, so you better never do that or I'm never going to defend you or anything like that. And I love all these guys, and I like that guy that said it, and I understood his reasoning to a point. But maybe you're not so much of a kind of person I want protecting over me if I can't just hug somebody. I'll take the chance with lice. Let me tell you, I have a lot of lice in my life that I wish I could have just rid of a long time ago. So again, I love these guys, and we had some fun times and a lot of crazy characters. Same with the guy that he just wanted me as a fetish, but I started to like it. I learned to deal with it and love people, and I try to separate their behavior and stuff from who they are, the realness of who they are, their heart. Everybody's good and bad, And I don't mean to sound egotistic or anything, but, not once was I standing on the street trying to jam in some false religion into people's minds or manipulating them, trying to take from them, trying to get them to go to my church or building or whatever, for whatever reason. I wasn't trying to get anything from them. I'm giving myself. And instead of being appreciated for who I was and what I was offering, it seemed to me like everyone around me is trying to change me into their idea of who Tracilyn should be. And in fact, it was made very clear that that's exactly what they were doing. So, whatever. I ended up going out then, of course, since I was in Hollywood. I gotta be honest with you, by that point, I'm thinking some pretty horrible things. Another bridge jump, maybe here at the Golden Gate. Suicide had crossed my mind once or twice. I'm thinking this is getting really ugly, and I just might as well admit it that my whole life I am cursed. And instead of rarely will a door of opportunity ever open up that is going to be something that's going to be wholesome and beneficial to both parties, but as well to get my life on track. It's just not, usually it's one-sided, and it's because they want something from me. It's like you can never give enough. Like that guy that just wanted to use me for his fetish. I mean, he just wanted from me. He didn't want to give a roof over my head. He wanted to sacrifice. He wanted to satisfy his sexual desires. That's all. Very selfish. Very selfish. I'd rather not to even, don't even offer anything. Don't even walk up and talk to me if you just want to keep taking from me. And more so than not, when I end up meeting guys, for myself, not all guys are like, I'm not saying all guys are like this, but a lot of guys that I end up meeting during my times of need, that's why it is. Personally, through my experiences, I really, really want to be able to take care of myself financially, provide for myself for that one reason, because I'd rather date guys because I enjoy dating them and because there's some kind of thing maturely interesting other than just whether or not we're going to go to bed for, some guys, it's all day long. That's all they want to do. That's fine, but it's not for me. Okay, not unless it's with the right chemistry, the right person. Oh, I ended up going out here later on. I figured out I might as well just go to Las Vegas. I want to make a film about, and I did record some, being on the Cosmopolitan Bridge when I almost died. I wanted to show the spot. And can I tell you, I wanted to do this there, but I wanted to play. I wanted to go in town. I wanted to mingle with people. And can I tell you, it was a wonderful experience. This time around, it was completely opposite, because everything that I've learned about human nature, the awakening, I guess you could say I have had, I've seen people much differently. I had the opportunity to see them rather than any kind of negative behavior or something I perceived as that. And I saw a lot more smiles this time. I experienced a lot more happier moments, laughter. I had the opportunity to actually compliment a lot of the girls that I wish that I was walking with down the strip. And they're, like they wear sexy and naughty, like sexy cop outfits and stuff, or whatever. They're just there. Or some of them wear feathers, or some of them wear different costumes, and they're there for entertainment, to network, and to make some money or what have you. They're there for their own reasons. But can I tell you that I know more so than not, because of how other people are, that I definitely was very respectful of all of them, and I would compliment them and tell them they look wonderful. I would individually, whether it was their hair or their outfits, whatever it was, on a daily basis. I was only there for 2 weeks, but can I tell you that by the time I was getting ready to leave, that I actually had people taking off their costume heads and gathering around and talking to me, and wanting to know more about me. And the girls and stuff were, whether they knew I was transgendered or not, they were kind of gracefully accepting me in to kind of like their pack by their friendliness. How they would walk by, they would always smile at me. And it was a whole nother experience. I got along a little bit better with a lot of the street performers. They remembered me. They had respect for me. I got into like 1 or 2 small confrontations, and one of them was a drunk guy or whatever, group of people, and then another one just was whatever. So, and I just made it very forward that I will defend myself. I'm not here to be brought down to my knees like I was before. I went there with that attitude. But I also went there with, I want to experience a great time in Las Vegas while I'm here. And I did. And it was just, it was like night and day. I went out there the first time trying to follow God's leadership, and it led me into a disastrous place, because I realized that it didn't exist. When I went out there and I knew that I was on my own, and there was nothing outside of myself that I could trust, but I made the choice to see the good in everything around me, it was a whole other experience. And when I had to leave, it hurt. It hurt really bad, and I'll tell you why. Because I kept hearing that girl's voice from back in Florida, and I started going to open mic nights. And I was very grateful to find out that, believe it or not, Las Vegas, of course, is like the entertainment capital of the world, at least the United States anyway, probably the world. And, a lot of the people in the entertainment industry, musicians and stuff, we all want to try to get ahead and be able to take care of ourselves and do some of the things in life that we love. And we want to be able to do our music, but sometimes we can't do our music. We have to do other people's music and this, that, and the other. And you go out there, of course, there's a lot of cover bands and lookalikes and stuff like that. and everybody's doing their own thing. My hope is that they're all happy doing what they do. But some of the most talented musicians in all the world are out there, and I never really got to hear a whole lot of them because I always wanted to go to some of the shows just to experience it. But can I tell you that I started going to the open mic nights, and I was really excited because though on a smaller frame, it was very much, it reminded me of kind of like in Florida. I love Florida and the New Orleans area because they're very supportive of their local artist. And I'm not just talking music, I'm just saying artists as a whole. They're locals. I think that's very important. I wish that more cities would stop letting the corporations push us all over and take control of everything, and we would start standing up and taking back what belongs to us. And we need to support each other in all ways possible, and entertainment and media and stuff like that. That's very crucial and very important as well. Gives people the opportunity to be a voice in their local community, not just with music, but with whatever, or display their art and stuff like that. And Las Vegas, I didn't realize it the first time around, but I realized it this time around. They actually have been working on a program and doing different things there. And I had the opportunity to hear original artists. And let me tell you, when they're pouring out their hearts, I felt like I could connect. It's like they were talking about my life experiences. Evidently, we're all kind of similarly going through similar things, and we're writing about it. We're expressing ourselves. So because I'm into music, I go to these places, and I got to be a small part of that because I just can't stay there long enough to be a part of anything anywhere, really. But it felt good, and I got to meet some amazing people when I was out there, and I'm going to say it straight up. I got to meet a guy that I really liked a lot. But can I tell you that at this point, I'm thinking I'm probably going to jump off the bridge or do something silly anyway. So I want to just live and have a good time. I'm not going to tell anybody about my being a transsexual. If they figure it out, they figure it out. I don't care. I'm not intimidated by it or anything. It's like, whatever. I'm expecting in the end you're going to find out and then turn away from me anyway, because that's what humans do. They like me until they find out that I'm a transsexual, and they run away. And then occasionally they call me up and I'm their fantasy girl. They want me to be, and I won't do that. So it's like once they know, now they become ashamed and embarrassed to be out in public with you. Well, the same thing happened. Got to meet somebody nice. We went on a bunch of dates together, just little things, all music, because we both love music. And because this person kept wanting to have intercourse with me, and I kept pushing it off, and I kept telling him I'm not a take me out to dinner and go home and get lucky kind of person. You're going to have to wait. I don't do 3 dates like what tradition is. I said you got to go at least 6 dates with me. And, I joke around and whatever. I'm not going to say any names or anything like that. But can I tell you that as its time started coming on, and I figured that he really was taking a liking to me, I figured I better tell him, just simply because it's probably, if not, either way he's going to wonder why I'm not having intercourse. And the bottom line is it's not because I'm not attracted to him. It's because I know how he's going to respond. So here's another thing about not having SRS. I miss out on moments of my life over and over again because despite what other people think or say in their own minds with the lack of education, people ask me why is it that I tell people I'm a transsexual, why I have no other choice. And that breaks my heart because the same people that are so attracted to me, they would just love to share time together. I have to tell them eventually. And then I lose their relationship, and then people say, well, you don't want them anyway. Well, you don't know what it's like to have that happen to you over and over and over again. You have no clue unless you're a transsexual. So after I tell him, this is the first time this ever happened to me, instantly, his nervousness and not knowing how to take care of it, of course, obviously that's what it was, that he was the problem, not me. But instantly he's telling everybody. he's kind of a funny person. He's got a great personality and stuff, and he's kind of tells jokes and stuff all the time. But he's making a big deal out of this in front of me, in front of other people. Can I tell you, if I would have not done everything that I've done on this project, including standing on the street corners day in and day out, 40, 50, 60 hours a week, taking all the abuse that I received from humans, I wouldn't be able to look them in the eye and smile and know that I'm not the problem. Anybody with an ignorant attitude like that is the problem, not me. I'm not going around insulting people and trying to make them feel low about themselves because I lack self-insecure, or I'm insecure about myself. And that's what this person was doing. And it wasn't just once. I mean, it was every one of his friends that came by his house, his son. He just met, and I'm sure he's still going on, and he's probably telling jokes in clubs and stuff like that about it. This was a big, and I told him, I said, you should just use it for your sketch. It did not faze me. I am so numb to the mistreatment of human beings. And I had to go through a lot to get to that point. I'm numb. Bulletproof. Say anything you want to say. Doesn't matter to me. I'm not the problem. You are. If you got all these negative things to say about people, you're the ones with the insecurities. You're the one that feels low. You're the jealous and bitter one, not me. I'm proud to be who I am. I'm thankful I'm a transsexual. And I'm thankful that I can confuse the F out of you. You have no idea. I could be one of the greatest actors or actresses in all the world, people say. Maybe. Whatever. So, of course, guess what? After the day that I told him, we had our encounters. Brief, very brief. Not all the way. But we had our things. And can I tell you something? All of a sudden the phone stopped ringing. He didn't ask me to go out. He didn't send me no emails. One night he did, probably about 2 or 3 o'clock. But guess what? That means that he went out. And he wanted his little fetish curiosities to be fulfilled. And I denied them. It saddens me that this happens. I feel that I'm worthy to be with somebody very special that really appreciates and desires me and finds my, little things that a lot of people are weirded out about exciting. Obviously, not in this world. There must be another world in the universe where somebody will appreciate me and love me and care about me. And, what's between my legs won't matter as much as what's between my head. Or between my head and between my ears. Still a very nice guy. But I care less because I realize I got to see, the other side of him that is just the obvious, So anyway. On the drive back, let's say, I just want to say somewhere along the journey, I'm not going to say where it was or whatever, that I ended up actually meeting a very small percentage of the kind of man that I'm very attracted to. A gentleman. Somebody who knows how to treat a lady. And it's not like he just treats me like that. He would treat any lady he's with. And that's why I often observe, how do guys treat other people? Because that's how in the long run they're going to treat you. Because that's how they treat others. I had an amazing experience, and so at some point along my journey, I'm not going to say what city it was, I got to meet an amazing gentleman. And it's a very small percentage of guys that I meet that have their personality. I mean, you really feel special in their presence. It's a joy. The conversation's actually intellectual. It's very intelligent. of what it is that you're talking about. And I don't want to insult anybody, but I really do have a certain standard in attractions. You know, I've always turned, and I learned this being up in Boston and Massachusetts, that there is a lot of intelligent people out there. I've been all over the country, and in my perspective, there is a lot of very smart people. Maybe other people are disagreeing, but to me I was, and it always seemed when I was up there, the conversations I would get in would be mind-blowing, and I'd always leave learning something very valuable in life. And, you know, I guess there's a lot of colleges or whatever up there, and I just happened to meet a lot of the people that were educated differently and have different backgrounds. I'm not saying there's not smart people all over the place, but that was my thing. And so I've learned through my escorting years that I'm very attracted to intelligence, maturity, you know, different stuff like that. By the way, different guys would treat me by observing other gentlemen and how they treat other ladies and stuff. And, you know, even as a kid, I would fantasize about that stuff. I'm very old-fashioned. And it doesn't go without repay. You know, a lot of the things that different guys that I'm attracted to would do, a lot of people say that's too much work. And I say, you know, the difference between that and a person with intelligence says, that's foreplay. That's foreplay, because in the end, it's all going to pay off. You know, and there's a lot of guys that don't feel that there should be any kind of outside treatment other than that. And that's, I'm not saying all guys, I'm just saying a lot of guys that I have met. And like I said, I'm old-fashioned, and I appreciate it very much. And whatever I can do in return, it makes me want to work harder at being extra nice to that person. It turns me on. To me, that is foreplay. The way a gentleman is opening up a car door or a door, if he stands at a table, when you stand up, I mean, that's just so rare. You don't see that anymore, anywhere. So when that kind of treatment gets placed upon a lady, you know, it just makes her all the more want to be very pleasurable and desirable to that gentleman. I mean, really. Because they're just simply, a lot of girls are not used to that kind of treatment anymore. On my drive back, after, I was in Las Vegas, that's where I met this other gentleman, and then he was making jokes and stuff about me. I played on the strip one more time, only this time I told myself that I'm not going to leave in a puddle of tears because I had no expectations. I came there to do a video, and what I'm saying is that video never got done because I was too busy exploring Las Vegas. I even played the slot machines. And I'm not a gambler, and I go with the mindset that I'm not going to really get anything anyway. So I had a whole lot of change that I got, and I didn't want to carry it all with me. And I know you can go to other facilities and have it changed over, and I'm on a tight budget, and I know people are saying, but I figured, you know what, I don't drink that much and stuff. I could get a couple drinks, play some slot machines. I want to experience that too. I don't want to get addicted. I don't want to do that. And you know, I had a whole bunch of very small change, but I had a lot of it. And it was funny because while I was there was absolutely hardly any play. I walked into several casinos down in the Fremont Experience, can I tell you, and even up on the Strip, and I just couldn't find a place that I could actually play my coins. And I was blown away by that. I would never put dollar bills into it. That's just me. You know, I would never do that or exchange it for a ticket that I could use it. But if I have change, then I would. And, you know, it's a great way to grab yourself a drink and enjoy the atmosphere, the company, and the people around. My whole experience was absolutely wonderful, except for I could only find like one or two casinos where I could play nickels, or you know, and I had pennies yet and stuff too. So they moved up in time. I guess my change didn't matter. But I went there with the mindset of Las Vegas, I'm giving back to you because you've given to me one of the best experiences of my life. So I was doing what I love to do, and I was actually connecting with people. I went to many open mic nights. I got to see a couple different bands. And I got to hang out with some characters. And I got to see one of my favorite artists that lives out there came back from a tour from overseas, and I was totally surprised when I saw him. I cried so much. And I was talking to a lot more of the workers that worked at like the different convenience stores and in the casinos. I mean, it just, to me, it felt like everybody was told to be nice to me this time around. It was a really weird experience that I'm grateful for. It wasn't weird, it was refreshing. I loved Las Vegas the first time around, but I just had a different perception, and it's because of the trance and stuff that I was under. It was just totally different, and I used to look at life differently. Can I tell you something? You know, and a lot of people, even the people that helping me, they're a support group in that household to help the LGBT community, but because of the things I've been through in my life, I've been beaten down so bad. Okay? Especially when you're trying to be spirit-led, because that will beat you down. If you really are spirit-led, you're going to be led right down to the ground. Because the fruits of the Spirit is all about being kind, forgiving, graceful, and all this other stuff, giving. Well, just go out and be that for a while and you'll see. Maybe for a few years. You end up flat on your face, stripped of everything you have, because that's human nature, baby. With that being said, I couldn't hold my head up. I couldn't feel proud because I thought I was the problem. I kept thinking I was the problem my whole life. I'm so different than everybody else. And I realized I am not different than everybody else. At all. And I'm definitely not the problem. Nor is any other transsexual, unless we have a bad attitude at any given time, then we're the problem. But just living our lives is not the problem. People allowing themselves to be controlled and dominated by the evil nature side of themselves is. And they're being dominated and controlled by the media and everything that's been passed down to them for centuries and generations through religion and all this stuff, and I'm going to keep on saying it. But here's the thing. Instead of being a pat on the back and a celebration party, you know, opening up the door and saying, we need to throw a big celebration party because Tracilyn has been delivered. She can walk down the street now and look people square in the eye, and she doesn't turn. See, when people used to look at me when I was standing on the street, I'd put my head down. I'd turn the other way. I didn't want to make eye contact. Now, more so than not, I'm here to tell you that when I see people and I do make eye contact with them, I don't turn away. They do. And I'm not trying to be smart about that. But more so than not, most people cannot stare you in the eye. Try it. But have it with confidence. Know who you are. And not in Christ. Just know who you are. And when you do that, I can guarantee you that it's only going to be a very, very small percentage of people that will stare back at you. Don't do it to try to intimidate them. Don't do it to make them angry. I don't do it that way. But I will never, ever hang my head low again. But if I do, I'll be reminding myself immediately never to do it thereafter that. Thank you, Ohio. Because without the people of Ohio, whether the ones that were mistreating me or being friendly and nice and supportive, it goes both ways, it's a mix, I would not be who I am right now. I would not be able to stand tall and proud. Now I actually go into open mic nights and I go there with the attitude, I don't care how I sound. I'm not the problem if anyone makes fun of me. They're just ignorant. Okay? I really do have a great voice. I got great songs. I'm a very good-looking person. And the bottom line is, I'm not trying to be conceited. I'm being honest about it with myself. And I've been beaten down to be feel like I'm a freak. That I don't have talent. You know, I'm a goof-off. But this whole time that I've been here in Ohio, all I've been doing is trying to recover from a tragedy that happened to me. And the same people who invited me in to try to get me from going through any further with that tragedy are the same people who are beating me up because I'm not living life to their expectation as fast as I should. There's no way I could have done it. Nobody could. And I'm tired of the same people who beat the you-know-what out of me, who know the statistics that transsexuals do get mistreated, they get murdered and all kinds of things, and they get denied jobs, and it's almost 90% of them, or if not more, that are in poverty because the world rejects them and says, we're a corporation and we're judgmental over our slaves. Yes, I'm a corporation and you're going to fit our standard or else. No. If you're going to have slaves, just have slaves. Don't be so judgmental. Who cares about their physical appearance? But that's not the case. And that's why, more so than not, transsexuals end up resorting to adult film, adult work of any time, exotic adult work, or suicide. I've already been down the roads that I have been down. I realize that no matter what I do, pretty much, I'm going to be down here trying to figure out how to survive, and it's not worth it. And that's why, more so than not, you'll probably find out that Tracilyn is a suicide person. Because there ain't no sense in staying alive, fighting all the time. Fight over stupid things. Even your own people criticize you and humiliate you and all kinds of things. And they know darn well what it's like. They're putting expectations on you that are so unrealistic, they can't do it themselves. The same person who's getting on me about, go get a job, go get a job, go get a job, go get a job. Meanwhile, I'm working my butt off harder than I ever did before in my life. Is the same person who is a part-timer and would never have the balls to go full-time, because, especially years ago, because they would have lost everything and they would have ended up being dependent. Okay? I made the right choice for me. I can't keep on. If I got to live in a world that I got to hide everything about who I am, I understand now the necessities of hiding certain things. Get over it. Slap yourself in the face if you can't just accept people for who they are. Just slap yourself in the face. Let's slap each other in the face, because that's just freaking ignorant. And I'm not talking about when people are mean to you. I'm talking about who cares. I don't care who you're having sex with. This is like in the house. I am so busy trying to get my life together and working on things and connecting in my own network of people that I don't have time to gossip and worry about what everybody else is doing in the household or in the city or wherever. I'm busy doing things with my life. Just because I don't receive a paycheck with some corporation's name on it doesn't mean I'm not working. I may be working 75,000 times harder for nothing. Do I get credit for that? No. Not by the people closest to me. People closest to me, they're jealous, they're bitter, they're evil. And they wish they could be doing the things that I do. But it's what I do. What they really wish is that they were doing the things in life they were passionate about. And they can, but they don't want to go through all the BS I've been having to go through and other people like myself have. And I don't mean transsexual, I mean anybody who just says, I have to really do my thing and be myself. At some point, and I'm starting to run out of battery again here, I don't know how this is going to work out, but at some point, right around when I got up north here from Ohio, about 800 miles, 1,000 miles, heading north a little bit. It might have been in Nebraska, believe it or not. And I kind of made like I went around the whole coastline. Now I went down to Florida, then I went back up to Pennsylvania, and I went down to New Orleans, and I went across the bottom half of the United States, and then I went across the west coast to Las Vegas, never went to San Diego or any place up there. Cold, it was really cold up there at that time. And I decided I'm done. What else is there left for me to do? I got my opportunity to be on the beach. I love the beach. And I got my opportunity to play my heart out with a guitar. I can't take care of myself in a big city. If I'm going to attempt to eliminate myself, then I'm going to do it close to places that I feel I can trust in case anything goes wrong. I don't just trust any medical center, you know. I really want to be close to some kind of kinfolk, if you will, because I don't know what the end result's going to be. You know, there's a lot of people who try to commit suicide, and they mess up. Things go wrong, and it's a horrible situation. Well, I just want to make sure that I'm in a place that I feel safe, even in my worst situation. And that's I don't care what a lot of people argue about it. Well, if you're going to do it, you're going to do it. Well, I guess we'll just see. I don't want to do it. I really want to live. I really want to get my life together. I really want my own money, by the way. And I would like to move forward in my own life and continue to help people. And I would like to have my SRS, and I'd like to experience what it would be like to be married, really, or to be in love with somebody who actually desires me and appreciates me for who I am. I don't think any of that's possible.